when we had the Democrats out there, we weren't promising anything about the Epstein files. For all I know, our DOJ was invested in making sure that they could continue to reveal other people that should be held liable. Instead, it was your side that made this a campaign promise. I don't know if any of y'all took the time to sit down with any of these survivors, but let me be clear. These survivors have made it abundantly clear to us that there was cooperation at all levels of government. I got a few names for you if you want to start going through names, and you tell me which one of these names you've decided to do any type of legislation behind. Then maybe we should go to the other campaign promises, the ones that allegedly gave y'all a mandate. When he said he was going to lower prices on day one, yet that didn't happen. When he said that he was going to be ending wars on day one, yet that didn't happen. Where he said that he was going to save the American people, yet that didn't happen. So much. I move to strike the last words.
Gentlelady is recognized.
And so a couple of things. My not friend from Texas specifically cut me off by the time that I wanted to indicate to him a couple of things. One thing y'all have not said thus far as I can tell, is y'all may have amnesia about this mandate. You know, y'all kept talking about how President Trump was reelected and it was a mandate. And y'all aren't talking about the campaign promises. The campaign promise that he made. You see, when we had the Democrats out there, we weren't promising anything about the Epstein files. For all I know, our DOJ was invested in making sure that they could continue to reveal other people that should be held liable. Instead, it was your side that made this a campaign promise. So to now say that we are playing political games when we know that he actually ran on this is a farce. That's number one. Number two, everyone on this committee and everyone in Congress should have an issue with the fact that right now, we know that Ghislaine Maxwell has not only been transferred out of her housing in Florida down to somewhere that looks probably a little bit more like Mar-a-Lago in Texas, but now there are conversations about pardoning her. So I think that the American people should have full transparency about what took place when you're talking about someone who went in front of a grand jury and was found to have enough information to go forward and indict her, and then she was convicted, and then she was given 20 years, yet the president is in talks about potentially letting a convicted sex offender out. That's number two. Number three, I don't know if any of y'all took the time to sit down with any of these survivors, but let me be clear. These survivors have made it abundantly clear to us that there was cooperation at all levels of government, and they are talking about fake immigration papers. And they're talking about fake modeling agencies. For all we know, there are people that are still embedded in our federal government that allowed for this to take place, that were profiting from this. So yes, this is relevant to what we're talking about. The fourth thing that I want to say is I'm tired of y'all cherry picking one horrible event, because that's what y'all do. Y'all find one terrible situation that took place, and then you say that person's name and you wear it out and you make it political. The reality is this. I got a few names for you if you want to start going through names, and you tell me which one of these names you've decided to do any type of legislation behind. We've got Virginia Guthrie. We've got Annie Farmer. We've got Maria Farmer. We've got Courtney Wild, Michelle Licata, Jenna Lisa Jones, Jennifer Araz, Sarah Ransom, Shantae Davies, Carolyn Adriano. And the reality is that it's our understanding that there may be close to 1,000 victims of Epstein, Maxwell, and others. So stop playing these games and acting like you care about one particular situation. You take a situation and then you exploit what has happened to not only that person, but you exploit those families and you make it a game. Stop just throwing a random dead person's name on something for your own political expediency. If you want to start talking about actually solving something, then maybe we should go to the other campaign promises, the ones that allegedly gave y'all a mandate. When he said he was going to lower prices on day one, yet that didn't happen. When he said that he was going to be ending wars on day one, yet that didn't happen. Where he said that he was going to save the American people, yet that didn't happen. Because as we know, in that big ugly bill that every single one of you voted for, except for Mr. Massey, because he seemingly is the only one that's got any sense over there. Y'all voted for that bill. And the last time I checked, it's driving us further into debt while kicking people off of their health care, in addition to making sure that billionaires, which I would not be surprised if we start to roll out those names, and a number of those same billionaires, because these weren't they weren't $2 Johns. That's not what I got from the information. So stop telling us that you care. Show us that you care. Show those survivors that you care. Sign the daggone discharge petition, sit down and hear their stories, and then tell them to their faces that because your leader does not want to talk about this, that is who you have pledged your loyalty to and your fealty to, and you're not going to protect them, and you're not going to protect others that are suffering right now and others that will suffer in the future, and I will yield.
What we just witnessed from Representative Jasmine Crockett wasn't just a heated exchange in Congress. It was a lesson in what real accountability sounds like. Crockett wasn't performing for cameras. She was doing what so few in Washington dare to do, demand truth and transparency when it threatens powerful interests. When Crockett reminded Republicans that it was their side that promised transparency on the Epstein files, she wasn't nitpicking talking points. She was exposing hypocrisy. The GOP built a political brand around draining the swamp, around telling Americans they'd uncover corruption. But when the time comes to open the Epstein files, when the truth could implicate people with power and money, suddenly the silence is deafening. Crockett's frustration came from that betrayal. Transparency isn't optional. It's the foundation of public trust. Then she raised a chilling point, that Ghislaine Maxwell, convicted for sex trafficking minors, has been quietly moved, and that conversations are happening about pardons or leniency. Think about what that means. A woman who helped facilitate the abuse of young girls could benefit from political favoritism while survivors are still fighting for recognition, support, and justice. Crockett's outrage here is moral, not partisan. She's saying that when power protects itself, victims are erased all over again. And her argument went deeper. She reminded everyone that Epstein's network wasn't a one-man operation. It was a system with fake immigration papers, fake modeling agencies, and a pipeline that exploited women and girls for the profit of elites. That's what transparency exposes. It's not gossip. It's evidence of how people in high places use influence, money, and bureaucracy to hide exploitation. What Crockett did in that hearing was put the human faces back into a story that's too often treated as a headline. When she listed names like Virginia Giuffre, Annie Farmer, Courtney Wild, and so many others, she wasn't reciting for effect. She was reminding Congress that these are real people, not props. Peoples whose pain is being recycled for political talking points instead of addressed through meaningful reform. She's tired of the same cycle. Republicans cherry-pick one tragedy, use it for outrage, then ignore the policy changes that could prevent the next one. That's why she threw their own campaign promises back at them. Lower prices, end wars, protect Americans. None of that happened, because instead of governing, they perform. And while they perform, people suffer. Let's pause on something essential here. Crockett's call for a discharge petition. That's not just political jargon. It's a procedural tool, a way for members of Congress to bypass leadership and force a vote when the speaker or committee heads refuse to act. She's challenging her colleagues to stop hiding behind excuses and put their names on the line. If they really care about justice, they should sign that petition and let the public see where they stand. And here's the heart of it, her message to survivors. Stop telling us you care. Show us you care. That's the line that cuts through every layer of this debate. You can't claim to fight for victims while shielding the people who enabled their abuse. Justice means something only if it's applied evenly, even when it makes the powerful uncomfortable. Now let's widen the lens a bit. What Crockett is really talking about is how accountability works in America. Transparency isn't just about seeing names in a file, it's about changing behavior. When records are public, when people know that their actions will eventually come to light, it raises the cost of corruption. Exposure deters complicity. That's why these files matter. That's why she's fighting. And she's right about another thing. Our government doesn't function on feelings. It functions on pressure. Change doesn't come because people in power suddenly develop a conscience. It comes when citizens make silence more expensive than truth. When we watch hearings like this, it can feel like theater, but the real impact depends on what we do afterward. Learn the facts, not the headlines. Find out what actions your representatives are taking or not taking to support transparency. Send a message to their office, even if it's just one sentence. I want you to support full disclosure of the Epstein files. Those messages matter more than most people think. And don't stop there. Support organizations that center survivors' voices. They're the ones ensuring that people who suffered exploitation don't get silenced once again by politics. We have to understand that this moment, this fight for the release of these files, is about more than Epstein or Maxwell. It's about the culture of impunity. It's about whether wealth and influence will always shield wrongdoing.